In this video, we'll create a new type of pickup that temporarily increases the player's speed. In other videos, we've created a health pickup object that detects when the player walks through it and responds by restoring the player's health. Let's take that health pickup and make it into a prefab by dragging it from the hierarchy pane into the assets folder. Let's now duplicate this prefab by selecting it and pressing Command D or Control D on PC. I'll press Enter to rename it to Speed Pickup. I'll then drag this new speed pickup into the scene. The first thing to do will be to make them visually different. I'll do this by creating a new material. Let's go into the Materials folder, duplicate the Health Pickup material by pressing Command D, again Control D on PC, press Enter, and rename it to Speed Pickup. I think that the Speed Pickup should be yellow, so with it selected, I'll change the albedo from red to yellow by dragging the hue bar. I'll now apply the Speed Pickup material to the Speed Pickup object by dragging and dropping onto there. The Speed Pickup object should not have the Pickup Health script. Instead, we'll write a new script that responds by changing the player's walking speed for a certain amount of time. So we'll remove the Pickup Health script, and we'll add a new component called Pickup Speed. Let's open it up. The way this will modify the player's speed is by modifying a property inside the first-person controller. The first-person controller is part of the standard assets that come with Unity, and we'll have to make some changes to it to allow changing the player's walking speed temporarily. Let's do that by going into the Assembly C# First Pass group, Standard Assets, Characters, First Person Character, Scripts, First Person Controller.cs. There's a lot of code in this file, and most of it is not really relevant to our purposes here. The things to look at are the walk speed and the run speed variables. Now, one way we could do this would be to make these public, change them from private to public, but that's not really the best way to do things. It's not really up to the speed pickup to directly control the walking speed. The intent of the speed pickup is to increase speed and then reduce it back down to normal. Instead, what we should do is add a function that other things can call that set a multiplier. This will mean that the pickups don't have to know about the original speed. They can just pass in a thing saying, go twice as fast, now go half as fast, returning back to normal. We'll scroll down to the very bottom of the file, and we'll add a new function called public void set speed factor. This will take a parameter, a float called factor. And in here, we'll set the private variables by saying m underscore, because that's what they begin with, m underscore walk speed is multiplied by factor, and m underscore run speed is also multiplied by factor. Now, to modify the speed at which the player moves around, you would pass in a number greater than 1, for example 2, to double the speed of both walking and running. To bring this back down to normal, you would pass in a number less than 1, like 0.5 or 1/2, and this would counter the original change. Let's now go to our pickup speed script, and we'll implement it. First, we'll add a variable, public float duration, so how long this effect will last for, and we'll set this to 3, and also public float speed factor, so how big of a speed up they get. We'll set this to 3 as well. In an earlier video, when we created the pickup system, we designed it so that the pickup system would call a function called pickup collected. We'll implement this now. Void pickup collected. It takes a parameter, a game object, which we can call game object. The first thing to do will be to get the FPS controller. The first person controller is a class that's inside the Unity standard assets.characters.firstperson namespace. So we can say using Unity standard assets.characters.firstperson. First, we'll see if we have a controller on this object by saying var controller equals GameObject.getComponent first person controller. If this is not null, then we'll start a coroutine that manages the process of speeding up, waiting a moment, and then returning to normal speed. Start coroutine, apply speed boost controller. Let's implement the apply speed boost function now. Returns IEnumerator, apply speed boost, and it takes a first person controller, which we'll call controller. In here, all we have to do is say controller.set speed factor, speed factor. This will modify the walking and running speed. We'll then wait for the right amount of time, wait for seconds, duration, and then we'll undo our earlier modification by saying controller.set speed factor 1.0 over speed factor. So this is the inverse. Finally, we can remove both start and update because they aren't needed for the script. Fix an issue, 1.0 should be 1.0f. That's how you mark floating point values in C# rather than doubles. Let's return to Unity and we'll test it. We'll start the game, find our speed pickup, and go pick it up. And you can see I'm moving 3 times as fast for about 3 seconds. And there we have it, the speed pickup. Before we finish, we should update our prefabs. Let's leave plane mode, go to our speed pickup, and click Apply. This will make sure that the pickup speed script is attached to all copies of the speed pickup.